The sun hung low over the desert horizon, casting long shadows across the ranch. Reyna wiped the sweat from her brow and squinted at the horizon. Her ranch, on the edge of the Terra Nova frontier, stretched for miles, dotted with hardy livestock and the occasional rugged rock formation. Despite the harsh environment, she loved this land. It demanded everything from her patience, skill, and determination, but it also rewarded her with freedom. Reyna had been checking on her livestock when she first noticed something unusual. One of the grazing creatures, a crossbreed between earth cattle and local alien species, stumbled awkwardly. Its eyes flickered nervously toward a crevice near the rocks. Reyna approached carefully, her boots crunching over the dry, gravelly ground. She had seen this behavior before. Something dangerous was nearby, probably a rattlesnake, she muttered under her breath. The rattlesnakes on Terra Nova were nothing like the ones back on Earth. Scientists had genetically engineered them for research purposes, creating varieties that could survive in harsh climates, and had venom potent enough to test human resilience. Normally, they avoided humans, but something about the grazing herd had attracted this one. She moved closer, her hands steady despite the adrenaline beginning to pulse through her veins. The snake emerged from the rocks, a sleek, glimmering creature with scales that shimmered in the setting sun. It rattled its tail, a warning sound that echoed across the desert like a tiny drumbeat. Reyna froze for a moment, observing it. She knew snakes better than most. Their behavior could often be read like an open book, but she had underestimated this one. In a sudden, swift motion, it lunged toward her. Reyna reacted quickly, stepping back, but not quickly enough. The snake's fangs sank into her thigh, sharp and precise, delivering a venom she knew could kill in minutes if untreated. She gasped and fell back against a nearby rock, her hand clutching the wound. Pain shot through her leg, sharp and burning, spreading quickly. She gritted her teeth and tried to stay calm. Panic would only make things worse. Her rancher instincts kicked in, and she quickly evaluated her surroundings. She needed help, and she needed it fast. Before she could call for her small colony medical drone, a familiar voice reached her ears. "Reyna, are you hurt?" Dakota, her neighbor and friend, was running toward her. He was of Apache descent, tall and lean, with eyes that seemed to see through the chaos of the desert. He had a calm, steady presence that could ground even the most panicked person. Reyna tried to speak but found her throat dry. "Snake, bite, thigh," she managed. Her voice was hoarse, but Dakota understood immediately. He knelt beside her and examined the wound without hesitation. "It's bad," he said, his voice steady but urgent. "We need to act fast. This venom, it's strong, even for humans." Reyna felt a surge of fear, but pushed it down. Fear was a luxury she couldn't afford. She had survived harsh storms, wild animals, and even alien sandstorms before. She could survive this too. Dakota didn't wait for her to respond. He rummaged through his pack and pulled out a small, glowing device. "This is a portable venom neutralizer," he explained. "It can slow down the venom, but it won't remove it completely." "That part, that's up to you." Reyna raised an eyebrow. "Me?" Dakota nodded. "Humans have something other species don't. Our bodies. We adapt. We fight. I can buy you time. But the real work, you'll do." Reyna took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. The pain in her thigh was intense, but she focused on the task at hand. She had always believed that humans had potential beyond what technology or machines could measure. Now, that belief was about to be tested. Using the small tools Dakota handed her, Reyna carefully applied pressure around the bite, making sure not to spread the venom further. She worked quickly, every movement deliberate. Her mind raced as she remembered what she had learned from years of ranching and surviving in harsh conditions. "Your heart rate is rising," Dakota observed. "Keep calm. Focus. Let your body do what it's designed to do." Reyna closed her eyes and took slow, deep breaths. She imagined her body as a river, the venom as a stone in the water. She visualized the poison being carried away. Slowed, diluted, neutralized. It was strange, almost meditative, but she felt her muscles relax slightly as she focused. Minutes passed, each one feeling like an hour. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Reyna could feel the venom spreading, but it wasn't overpowering her. She flexed her fingers and toes, testing her strength. She was alive. Dakota watched silently, impressed. Not many humans could do this, he admitted. Your body. It's responding in ways even I didn't expect. Reyna allowed herself a small, tired smile. I guess humans aren't just ordinary, she said quietly. We survive. We adapt. We fight. Just then, a sound made them both tense, a distant rumble, low and ominous. The desert was full of dangers, and now it seemed one more was coming. But Reyna didn't flinch. She was still in control. She could handle this. Humans always found a way. Dakota helped her to her feet slowly. Her leg was weak, but she could walk. We need to get you back to the ranch house, he said. There's more I can do there. We can finish the neutralization procedure. Reyna nodded, leaning on him for support. Step by step, they made their way across the desert floor. Each step was a challenge, each breath a reminder of the danger she had just faced. Yet, there was a strange sense of triumph in it too. She had faced death and not given in. As they reached the small cluster of buildings that made up her ranch, Reyna looked back at the desert. The sun had almost disappeared, leaving only streaks of purple and gold across the sky. The rattlesnake was gone, but its bite had left a mark not just on her thigh, but on her mind. She knew this was only the beginning. Terra Nova was full of surprises, and humans had a way of proving themselves against even the most dangerous threats. She had survived the bite, but the lessons it carried were only beginning to reveal themselves. Dakota led her inside, where basic medical supplies and a small lab awaited. We'll finish this, he said confidently, but I want you to remember something. Humans, we are more than we think. Even in the face of engineered toxins, we can fight. We can win. Reyna smiled, despite the pain. She had always believed that. And now, she had proof. Humans weren't just survivors, they were extraordinary. As the evening settled over the ranch, the desert quiet and mysterious, Reyna prepared herself. The venom in her body was dangerous, yes, but it had also awakened something within her. A determination, a sharpness, a strength. She was human. And humans always found a way. The ranch house smelled of dust, leather, and the faint tang of desert herbs. Reyna leaned against the table, her leg throbbing with the after-effects of the rattlesnake bite. Dakota had guided her here carefully. And now he was rummaging through a small collection of medical supplies, tools, and alien flora samples he kept in a neat wooden chest. We need to neutralize the venom before it spreads further, he said, his voice calm but firm. But Reyna, this isn't just about medicine. It's about understanding your body. Reyna frowned, tired but alert. My body? You mean humans have some special trick or something? Dakota nodded. He pulled out a thin, green leaf that shimmered faintly under the low light. This plant reacts to certain biotoxins. Most species can't handle it without harm. But humans, sometimes we respond in ways that even science can't predict. There's something in our DNA that helps us fight. Reyna's curiosity sparked. She had always believed humans were more capable than technology suggested. On Terra Nova, colonists often relied on machines and AI to handle every challenge. But she knew firsthand that machines could fail, only humans could improvise, adapt, and overcome in real time. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. So, what do I need to do? Dakota's eyes softened. You need to focus. Your body will do most of the work, but your mind has to guide it. Think of it as a conversation with yourself, telling your cells what to do, helping them fight the venom. It sounds strange, I know, but it works. Reyna blinked, trying to process this. Talk to my cells? Like meditation? Yes, Dakota said with a small smile. Focus. Breathe. Stay calm. Your instincts, your intelligence, your humanity, these are your tools. You've survived worse storms, worse injuries. This is no different. Your body is stronger than you think. Raina nodded, leaning back in her chair. She closed her eyes and tried to calm her racing heart. She imagined the venom as a small, dark cloud inside her leg. Slowly, she pictured her blood carrying the poison away, neutralizing it with each beat of her heart. She focused on the rhythm, the warmth of her own energy. Dakota worked beside her, preparing a paste from the shimmering alien leaves. We'll apply this externally to support your body, he explained. It won't replace your strength, but it will help your cells respond faster. Raina's hands shook slightly as she helped him smear the paste carefully around the bite. The leaves smelled faintly sweet, almost like honey mixed with earth. As they worked together, she felt a strange sense of connection not just to the plant, but to Dakota, to her own body, to the land she had called home for so long. Minutes passed slowly. The pain in her thigh remained, but it no longer felt as sharp. Instead, it pulsed rhythmically, a reminder of her body's work. Dakota watched her closely, noting every small change in her expression. You're doing well, he said quietly. Raina felt a surge of pride but shook her head. I'm just surviving. Survival isn't just luck, Dakota replied. It's instinct, intelligence, and heart. And humans have all three in ways other species don't. You're proving it right now. Raina smiled faintly. Despite the exhaustion, she felt a warmth rising inside her, not just from the adrenaline, but from something deeper. Humans weren't just survivors. They were thinkers, problem solvers, adapters. She had always felt that. But now she could see it in action, in herself. Suddenly, the wind outside picked up, rattling the thin windows of the ranch house. Dust swirled around the edges, and the faint sound of distant creatures echoed from the desert. Terra Nova was unpredictable, and danger lurked everywhere, but Raina felt ready. Is there more I need to do? She asked. Dakota nodded. Yes. We need to make sure your body is actively fighting the venom. It's not enough to just stay calm. You have to use your strength, your focus. I'll guide you. But it's up to you to take control. Raina took another deep breath and closed her eyes again. She pictured the venom as tiny invaders, trying to take over her cells. She imagined her immune system, every cell, every heartbeat fighting back, neutralizing the poison. She visualized herself as a shield, her body forming walls, her mind directing the effort. Time passed in a strange, quiet rhythm. Dakota occasionally instructed her to adjust her breathing, to shift her focus, to pay attention to the subtle tingling in her leg. Each instruction made a difference. Slowly, the pain began to ease, replaced by a strange warmth, like her blood was flowing stronger, faster, fighting back. You're doing it, Dakota said softly, almost in awe. Your body, it's responding. Better than I expected. Humans, they're amazing. Raina opened her eyes, exhausted but determined. I can feel it, she whispered. It's like my body knows what to do. Dakota nodded. Exactly. Your cells are communicating, adapting. Your instincts, your focus, your willpower, they're making the difference. Most colonists don't realize it. But humans have this edge. It's why we survive in ways other species can't. For a moment, Raina allowed herself to smile. She had always known humans were capable. But this was different. She wasn't just surviving an injury. She was proving, in real time, the remarkable strength of human adaptability. Outside, the desert darkened. The stars began to appear, bright and alien against the deepening sky. The silence of the night was broken only by the occasional rustle of desert creatures. But inside the ranch house, Raina and Dakota worked in a quiet rhythm, connected by focus, determination, and human ingenuity. After what felt like hours, Raina felt a shift. The venom in her leg was no longer spreading. The pain had dulled significantly, replaced by a steady warmth that felt like life itself. She flexed her toes, then her fingers. She was moving again, stronger than before. Dakota's eyes lit up. You did it. Your body fought back. The venom is neutralized enough that we can finish the final treatment safely. Raina leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. I actually did it? You did, Dakota confirmed. Humans are remarkable. Even in the face of engineered dangers, we adapt, we survive, we fight, and we win. Raina laughed softly, a sound of relief and pride. She had faced death, controlled it, and overcome it not with machines or advanced technology, but with her own mind, her own body, her own human strength. She looked around the small ranch house, at the simple tools, the alien plants, the warm light from the lanterns. Everything she had needed to survive had been right here, in her hands and her mind. For the first time, she truly felt the weight and the power of being human. Not just a colonist, not just a survivor, but something extraordinary. Humans weren't the strongest species, and they weren't the fastest, but they were clever, adaptable, and unyielding. They found ways where others failed. They improvised, endured, and triumphed. And Raina had just proved it. As the night deepened, Dakota prepared a final treatment using the alien leaves and some simple technology. It was a minor procedure, but it symbolized something much larger. Human potential. Raina followed his instructions carefully, applying the paste and focusing her energy as she had been doing all evening. By the time the night was fully upon the desert, Raina's leg had stabilized. She could walk, sit, and move normally. The pain had diminished almost entirely, leaving only a faint reminder of the danger she had faced. Dakota smiled at her. You've done more than survive tonight. You've shown what humans can do. Not just instinct, but focus, willpower, intelligence. You've proven that our species has an edge, something machines and other life forms can't match. Raina nodded, feeling a sense of pride that warmed her more than any lamp or fire. I feel it, she said simply. I feel human. Outside, the desert was calm again, the stars twinkling in silent witness. Somewhere far off, creatures moved in the dark, but they were no longer a threat. Not tonight. Tonight, humans had shown their power, not through strength or weapons, but through ingenuity, focus, and the unbreakable will to survive. And for Raina, that was enough. The next morning, the desert sun rose slowly, casting golden light over the ranch. Raina stirred awake, the memory of last night still fresh in her mind. Her leg felt sore, but not weak. She flexed her toes and stretched carefully, testing her strength. Every movement was a reminder. She had survived. Dakota was already in the small lab room, carefully tending to the remaining alien leaves and the few tools they had used. When Raina entered, he looked up and smiled. You're up earlier than I expected, he said. Good sign. It means your body is adapting well. Raina shrugged. Can't sit still for long. There's work to do. Her mind had always been restless, always thinking ahead. Surviving the bite had shown her that humans were not just passive observers in dangerous environments, they were active problem solvers. She had to test that theory further. Dakota gestured to a small table where he had set up a few containers of local desert flora and tiny, harmless desert creatures for study. There's something I need to show you, he said. Your body isn't just fighting the venom. It's reacting in a way that could help us understand this planet and survive it better. Raina leaned closer, curiosity lighting her eyes. Explain. Dakota picked up a small, round leaf that shimmered with a blue tint. This plant produces a mild toxin to protect itself from predators. Most animals get sick if they touch it. Humans, not always. Some of us have a natural reaction that neutralizes the toxin quickly. Your body is doing that now faster than anyone I've seen. Raina examined the leaf, intrigued. So my body is special? Exactly, Dakota replied. Not invincible, but unique. Humans have an edge here. Where machines and other species struggle, humans can adapt. We can learn, improvise, and survive. That's why you're alive after a bite that could have killed someone else. Raina smiled faintly. I guess it's true what they say. Humans are clever. Dakota nodded. Clever, and more than clever. Humans can focus, combine instincts with intelligence, and improvise in ways no AI can match. And that can make the difference between life and death on Terra Nova. Raina felt a strange surge of pride. Her eyes wandered to the horizon, where alien hills and craggy rock formations stretched as far as she could see. This was a dangerous world, yes, but it was also full of opportunities for discovery, for survival, for proving what humans could do. Show me, she said, determination in her voice. I want to test this edge of mine. I want to see how far humans can go. Dakota hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Very well. We start small. There's a creek nearby with local wildlife. Nothing dangerous, but it will test your reflexes, observation, and problem solving. Simple survival skills, but in a way that uses your human advantage. Raina adjusted her gear, strapping on her boots and checking the small toolkit Dakota had provided. Even after the bite, she felt ready. Her mind was clear, her body strong, and her instincts sharp. They walked across the desert floor, the morning sun warming their backs. The air smelled faintly of earth and dry grass, and tiny creatures scurried between rocks. Raina noticed every detail: the movement of shadows, the sounds of small animals, the subtle changes in the wind. Humans had always relied on these senses to survive, and now they were sharper than ever. Dakota stopped at the edge of a shallow creek. Here, he said. Observe. Identify the creatures, find a safe way to move across, and collect samples from the environment. You'll need to think, adapt, and react quickly. And remember, no AI, no tech, just your mind and your instincts. Raina crouched by the water, her eyes scanning the small fish-like creatures swimming below the surface. She noticed the way the plants bent slightly in the current, creating shadows that hid certain creatures and revealed others. Slowly, she extended her hand, gently scooping a small, harmless creature for observation. This one is curious, she said, smiling. It doesn't try to escape, but it senses danger. Dakota nodded. Exactly. That's observation. Humans are good at it. We notice patterns, behaviors, signs that others might miss. That's our edge. And now, you're using it in real time. Raina moved along the creek carefully, taking notes in her mind, observing the flora and fauna. Each step was deliberate, each motion calculated. She realized something important. Her body had healed quickly, her mind was sharper, and her instincts were heightened. The rattlesnake bite had done more than threaten her life, it had awakened a deeper awareness of her human potential. Suddenly, a small ripple in the water caught her attention. A larger fish-like creature, with a bright orange pattern, was swimming too close to the surface. It looked harmless, but it moved in a way that suggested it could react quickly if threatened. Raina smiled. I see you, she whispered. She extended her hand again, and with careful precision, she captured a small sample from the water without startling the creature. Dakota watched silently, impressed. Your reflexes, your timing. Humans really do have an advantage. We can improvise, adapt, and respond faster than most species. Even the best machines would struggle with this. Raina laughed softly. It feels natural. I don't even think about it consciously. I just react. That's instinct and intelligence working together, Dakota said. And humans are one of the few species capable of that combination. That's why we survive in places where others fail. That's why your species has a future on this planet and beyond. Raina's confidence grew as they moved along the creek, collecting samples, observing creatures, and testing her instincts. She noticed patterns that Dakota pointed out, but also patterns he hadn't seen. She adapted quickly, using a mix of logic and intuition. Every small success reinforced the truth she had always known. Humans were remarkable. By midday, they had completed their small experiment. Raina had observed several species, collected samples, and even discovered subtle interactions between plants and animals that could help colonists adapt to Terra Nova. She felt exhausted, but exhilarated. Her mind was buzzing, her body alive with energy. Dakota clapped his hands softly. You've done exceptionally well. Most humans wouldn't manage this at all. They'd rely on machines or give up at the first sign of danger. You used your instincts, your intelligence, and your focus. You've proven it. Humans have an edge, Raina smiled. It's not about luck. It's about paying attention, learning, and using what you have. That's all humans do, really. We survive by thinking, adapting, and never giving up. Dakota nodded. Exactly. And now you've done more than survive. You've learned. You've grown. You've proven something important. Humans are capable of extraordinary things. Even in an alien world, as they walked back to the ranch, Raina reflected on the day's experiences. She had faced danger, uncertainty, and the unknown, and she had excelled. Her human instincts, sharpened by necessity, had guided her through challenges no machine or other species could have handled alone. The desert stretched around them, vast and untamed, but Raina no longer felt small or powerless. She felt connected to the land, to the life it held, and to the human potential that had been awakened within her. When they reached the ranch house, Raina paused at the doorway, looking back at the creek. She felt a quiet pride. Humans weren't the strongest creatures, nor the fastest, but they were clever, adaptable, and resilient. They could solve problems, survive dangers, and thrive in worlds that others might consider impossible. Dakota watched her, a small smile on his face. You're extraordinary, Raina. Don't forget it. Raina nodded. I won't, and I'll keep learning. There's so much more to discover about this planet, about life, and about humans. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky with orange and violet hues, Raina felt a sense of determination settle deep in her bones. Terra Nova was a challenging world, full of unexpected dangers, but also full of opportunities. And she knew, with absolute certainty, that humans had the tools to not just survive but to thrive. Humans had an edge. Humans had ingenuity. Humans had the heart to face the unknown. And Raina was living proof. She stepped inside the ranch house, ready to rest, ready to prepare, and ready to face whatever came next. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she felt stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever. Humans had survived the impossible before, and they would do it again. And Raina would be at the forefront, showing the universe exactly what humans could do. The morning sun was just peeking over the horizon, painting the desert in shades of gold and pink. Raina stretched her legs carefully, testing the strength in her bitten thigh. The past days had been exhausting, but she felt stronger than ever. Her body had healed remarkably, and her mind felt sharper, clearer, more alert. She had survived one of the deadliest dangers on Terra Nova, and now she was ready for the next challenge. Dakota appeared at the door, holding a small satchel of tools and samples. Morning, he said. Today, we go further. We're going to test your human edge in a real environment. Not just observation survival, adaptation, and ingenuity. Raina nodded. I'm ready. Raina. He led her to the edge of a canyon nearby, where the terrain became jagged and uneven. Alien plants clung stubbornly to the rocks, and small creatures scuttled through the crevices. The canyon was a living laboratory, a place where survival skills would be tested to their limits. Here's the plan, Dakota explained. We need to collect samples from different areas of the canyon, but the terrain is tricky. The creatures here are cautious and clever, and the plants, some are reactive to touch. You'll need your instincts, observation, and improvisation. Most machines would fail here. Humans? You have an edge. Raina studied the canyon carefully, Her heart beat steadily, not with fear, but with excitement. She thrived on challenges. The bite she had survived was a reminder. Humans were adaptable, resilient, and clever. She would prove it again today. They descended carefully into the canyon. Raina's eyes scanned every movement, every shadow. Tiny creatures darted between rocks, hiding in plain sight. She noted patterns in the plants and the small animals' movements. She began to see the subtle signs that indicated danger, opportunity, and balance. "Notice the plants near the water source," Dakota said. "They react if something touches them. But the reaction is slow, just enough time for a human to act." Raina crouched and gently picked one of the plants, noting how it bent away without causing harm. She carefully collected a sample, making sure not to disturb the surrounding ecosystem. Each action was precise, deliberate, and thoughtful. "This is fascinating," Dakota said. "Your instincts guide you, but your intelligence perfects it. That combination, that's what makes humans exceptional." Raina smiled faintly. "It feels natural. I just do what my eyes and mind tell me." As they moved deeper into the canyon, the terrain became more difficult. Jagged rocks jutted out, and the ground was uneven and slippery in some places. But Raina adapted quickly, using her strength, balance, and observation skills to move safely. Her human instincts guided her better than any map, machine, or drone ever could. Suddenly, she heard a faint rustle nearby. She froze, eyes scanning the rocks. A small, intelligent-looking creature emerged from a crevice. It had bright, reflective eyes and a patterned shell that camouflaged it perfectly with the canyon walls. Raina held her breath, observing. The creature seemed cautious but curious. She slowly extended her hand, careful not to startle it. Using her human intuition, she mimicked gentle movements. Showing no threat, the creature inched closer, and she carefully collected a small sample from its shell without harming it. Dakota's eyes widened in surprise. "You've done it again. That's skill, observation, and patience, uniquely human traits. Machines or other species would have failed." Raina felt a sense of pride but remained focused. "It's not just skill. It's awareness. Humans notice things others might miss. We adapt in ways that machines can't predict." They continued their exploration, moving through the canyon with care. Each new plant, each creature, each sample tested their patience and observation. Raina's mind worked like a finely tuned instrument, analyzing, predicting, and adapting. She noticed patterns that Dakota hadn't, finding safe paths through narrow ledges and discovering hidden plant clusters that were perfect for study. By midday, they reached a wider part of the canyon with a small oasis. The water shimmered under the sun, and alien flora created a small, vibrant ecosystem. It was beautiful, fragile, and alive with subtle interactions. "Here," Dakota said. "We'll do the final test. Observe the entire ecosystem. Identify threats and opportunities. Use your human edge to interact safely and effectively." Raina approached the water carefully, her eyes scanning the movement of tiny fish-like creatures and reflective plants. She noticed the patterns of shadows, the way the wind moved through the leaves, and the creature's subtle reactions. Each observation guided her actions. She gently collected water samples, examined plants, and noted creatures' behaviors. Her hands moved skillfully, her eyes sharp, and her mind alert. Every action demonstrated the human ability to adapt, improvise, and thrive in environments that machines might misinterpret or fail to navigate. "Your timing, observation, and judgment are remarkable," Dakota said softly. "Humans are capable of understanding environments like this in ways no machine could. You see connections, predict outcomes, and act carefully. That's your edge." Raina nodded, feeling the truth of his words deep within herself. Humans were not just survivors. They were problem solvers, innovators, and adapters. The canyon, the creatures, and the alien plants were not just challenges, they were opportunities to demonstrate human potential. As the day wore on, the sun climbed higher, and the canyon's shadows shifted. Raina moved with grace, collecting final samples and observing interactions. She noticed subtle changes in plant behavior and animal movement, predicting outcomes before they happened. Her human edge intuition, intelligence, and adaptability kept them safe and productive. By late afternoon, they began their journey back to the ranch. Raina's backpack held carefully collected samples. Her mind was alive with observations, and her body, though tired, felt invigorated. She had not only survived the canyon but had thrived in it, using skills that no machine or alien species could replicate fully. "Look at what you've done," Dakota said as they reached the ranch. "You've not only survived, but you've turned this canyon into a classroom. You've learned, adapted, and excelled. That's the human edge." Raina smiled, exhausted but proud. "It wasn't easy," she admitted, "but it feels right. Humans aren't the strongest or the fastest, but we think, adapt, and endure. That's how we survive and thrive." Dakota nodded. "Exactly, and now, you've proven it. Humans can navigate, adapt, and flourish even in environments designed to challenge life itself. That's what makes our species extraordinary." Raina looked toward the desert horizon, where shadows were lengthening and the first stars began to appear. Terra Nova was a dangerous world, full of unpredictable terrain, alien life, and environmental challenges. But she no longer felt fear. She felt strength, purpose, and confidence. Humans had an edge, and she had demonstrated it fully. Inside the ranch house, they cataloged their samples, noting observations and creating plans for further exploration. Raina felt a sense of accomplishment and possibility. She had faced environmental challenges that could have overwhelmed others. But her human edge, intuition, focus, and adaptability had seen her through. As night settled over the desert, Raina stood outside the ranch, looking at the stars. The canyon had tested her. The alien ecosystem had challenged her. And she had succeeded. Humans had survived impossible conditions before, and they would do it again. And Raina would continue to show exactly how humans could adapt, overcome, and thrive where machines might fail, and where others would struggle. Humans were extraordinary, and she was living proof. The morning air was crisp and dry, carrying the scent of the desert and the faint fragrance of alien flora. Raina stood outside her ranch house, looking toward the horizon. The canyon they had explored the day before now seemed smaller, almost familiar. She flexed her leg, testing it once more, and felt the strength in her muscles, the steady beat of life coursing through her body. The rattlesnake bite, the venom, and the fear, it all felt like a distant memory. Dakota joined her, carrying a small satchel filled with the samples they had collected from the canyon. "Ready for the next step?" he asked. Raina nodded. "Always. There's more to learn, more to do. Humans can't sit still for long," he smiled. "Exactly. And that's why we survive and thrive. Today, we're going to analyze what we found and see how humans can use it to adapt to Terra Nova." Inside the ranch house, the small lab was a hive of quiet activity. Dakota arranged the samples, and Raina inspected them carefully. Each plant, each tiny creature, each mineral fragment was a piece of the puzzle. They weren't just surviving, they were learning, preparing, and gaining an advantage that few species, and no machine, could replicate. Raina picked up a small plant with shimmering blue leaves. These leaves, they react to touch, but in a controlled way. Humans can handle it safely, but other species, not so much. "That's right," Dakota said, "and your body responded to the venom in a similar way. Humans have hidden strengths, adaptability, resilience, intelligence that show when we face challenges. You've proven it again." Raina studied the plant, running her fingers gently along the surface. She realized that survival wasn't just about avoiding danger. It was about understanding the world, learning from it, and using it wisely. Humans had always done this, from the earliest days on Earth to the colonies on distant worlds. Hours passed as they cataloged and analyzed the samples. Raina's mind buzzed with connections, possibilities, and discoveries. She noticed patterns in plant growth, interactions between creatures, and the subtle chemistry of the desert ecosystem. Each insight was a small victory, a reminder of the power of human observation and ingenuity. Finally, Dakota leaned back, rubbing his eyes. We've gathered a lot of data. But more importantly, we've learned something about humans. You, Raina, have shown that even in the harshest environment, humans can adapt, think, and thrive. That's the edge no one else has. Raina smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. It's not just me. It's all humans. We survive. We improvise. We endure. That's why we're here and why we can face anything this world throws at us. Dakota nodded. Exactly. And now, we have proof. Humans can use their instincts, intelligence, and focus to overcome challenges that would defeat others. That's not luck. It's our nature. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, Raina stepped outside. The sky was painted with streaks of orange, pink, and purple, reflecting off the rocky canyon in the distance. The desert was alive with sounds, the rustle of small creatures, the wind brushing through alien plants, the distant call of birds adapted to this world. Raina took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sun and the quiet strength of the land. She realized something important. Survival wasn't about being the strongest, the fastest, or the most dangerous. It was about using the mind, the senses, and the heart. Humans had all three, in abundance. Dakota, she said softly. Do you think others will understand this? That humans really are different? He smiled. Some will, some won't. But what matters is that you know it. You've proven it. You've shown it. That's enough. Humans have an edge, and it will carry us far across this planet and beyond. Raina looked at the stars beginning to appear in the deepening sky. Terra Nova was full of challenges, but it was also full of opportunity. The planet was harsh, unpredictable, and often unforgiving, but it was also alive, vibrant, and rich, with life to study, understand, and protect, and humans could do it. The days that followed were filled with careful observation, analysis, and preparation. Raina and Dakota documented their findings, learning more about Terra Nova's flora, fauna, and ecosystems. Every discovery reinforced what Raina had always known. Humans were clever, adaptable, and resilient. Machines and tools could help, but nothing replaced human ingenuity. One evening, as the twin moons of Terra Nova rose over the horizon, Raina walked to the edge of the canyon once more. She watched the creatures moving below, the plants swaying in the gentle wind, and the subtle patterns of life that connected them all. She thought back to the rattlesnake bite, the sudden danger, the sharp pain, the fear. And she realized that it had been a turning point. It had awakened something within her. A deeper awareness of her body, her mind, and the unique power of humanity. Humans had survived the impossible before, on Earth and beyond. They had built civilizations, explored worlds, and adapted to challenges that would have destroyed other species. And here, on Terra Nova, Raina was proof that humans could continue to thrive. Dakota joined her silently, watching the canyon with a thoughtful expression. You've done more than survive, he said quietly. You've shown what humans can do. That's worth more than any sample, any discovery. You've proven that we belong here, and that we can flourish. Raina nodded, feeling a calm determination settle in her chest. I'll keep learning, keep exploring. Humans can do more than survive. We can grow, adapt, and thrive in ways no one expects. They stood together, watching the desert glow under the twin moons. The night was peaceful, yet alive with hidden life. Every rustle, every shadow, every shimmer of alien plants reminded them that Terra Nova was a world full of possibilities, and humans were ready to meet them. In the following weeks, Raina's reputation spread through the colony. She had faced dangers, adapted, and thrived in ways that inspired others. Colonists began to trust their instincts more, to rely on observation and creativity instead of just machines. Humans were discovering their true potential, and Reyna had been at the forefront, but she never grew arrogant. She knew that Terra Nova was unpredictable, and that survival required constant awareness, learning, and adaptation. Humans were extraordinary, yes, but only if they used their minds, hearts, and hands wisely. One evening, as the sun set over the horizon, Reyna stood outside her ranch, watching the desert stretch endlessly before her. She felt a quiet sense of pride. Humans were not just survivors. They were thinkers, learners, adapters, and innovators. And she, Reyna, was living proof of what humanity could achieve. Dakota approached her, carrying a small notebook filled with their findings. "The colony is talking about expanding exploration," he said. "They want to send humans into more dangerous areas, and they want you to lead." Reyna smiled. "I'll go. But not just for me. For all humans. To show that we can adapt, survive, and thrive anywhere." Dakota nodded. "Exactly. And remember, it's not just strength or speed. It's intelligence, observation, ingenuity, and heart. That's what makes humans exceptional." Reyna took a deep breath, feeling the desert air fill her lungs. She looked at the horizon, where the canyon shimmered under the fading sunlight. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she was ready. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and they would do it again. And she would continue to show the universe what humans were capable of. As the twin moons rose high, casting a soft glow over the desert, Reyna felt a quiet certainty in her heart. Terra Nova was vast, alien, and full of danger, but it was also full of life, opportunity, and discovery. And humans had the edge to thrive in it. Reyna smiled to herself. She had survived. She had learned. And she had proven that humans could face the unknown and conquer it with ingenuity, courage, and heart. The desert was quiet now, but it was alive. And Reyna, standing at its edge, felt the pulse of life, the spark of possibility, and the boundless potential of humanity. Humans were extraordinary, and Reyna had shown it.